FNAF has gotten to the point where it has so many different continuities, games, books, and most recently a film, which means that the characters in all these different continuities have different characteristics except for one, William Afton. Afton is characterised the most consistently throughout each continuity. He's a manipulative, murdering lunatic with a persona, which luckily for us could help understand the timeline, solve the runaway kid in Midnight Motorist, and speculate on the origin of the fear experiments. In the film, we see that Afton's kid is Vanessa, and we learn that from a very young age she knows about Afton's shenanigans, but she doesn't say a word, and in her adult life she ends up covering up for him and becoming his partner in crime. However, we see that Vanessa is ridden with guilt as she still hears the screams, and we know she is terrified of the back room in Freddy's. Mike even highlights that William has messed her up enough for her not to mention the murders and to be terrified of Freddy's back room. So overall, she ends up being this kid who was manipulated into being quiet by her own father. What if this is a similar situation to the bite victim and William in the games? So currently in the game's timeline, it is a coin flip on who died first, Charlie or bite victim, as both meet their fate in 1983. We know that Charlie died Halloween 1983, and we got this from the Silver Eyes trilogy. However, we just don't know when bite victim died, whether that was before Charlie or after her. Well, Midnight Motorist from Five Nights at Freddy's 6 could potentially answer this for us. The recent trailer of 5 Laps at Freddy's supports the theory that Midnight Motorist and Later That Night is about Afton. If you don't know what Midnight Motorist is, it's a minigame in Five Nights at Freddy's 6. You can play the arcade game in your Five Nights at Freddy's 6 restaurant, and there's a hole in the wall in Midnight Motorist, which then leads into this rainy sort of atmosphere, and that's then called Later That Night. Like I said, the atmosphere of Later That Night is rainy, and it matches the atmosphere of the minigame that shows us Charlie's murder. And in that same minigame, we can see tire tracks, which allows us to assume that Midnight Motorist and Later That Night leads on from Charlie's murder. We also know that Afton's first victim is Charlie, and it explains why in this minigame he is all over the place, he isn't calculated, and he hasn't found his signature yet. In the minigame, we can see his house, and we can see that there's someone sitting on the couch, and then he goes to a bedroom and demands that someone opens their door. Now we get the idea from this minigame, he's not the nicest person to live with, even before all the murder. Once he realises the door isn't opening, he goes round to the back of the house and tries the window, but when he gets there, he sees that the window is smashed, and he says, ran off to that place again, he will be sorry when he gets back. So who is he and who is the person sitting on the couch? Well, in Five Nights at Freddy's 4, we see that Michael wears a grey sort of vest, and we see that his dialogue is grey. So we can assume that the person sitting on the couch is Michael Afton. The only other son that William Afton has is obviously the bite victim. But this helps support the idea that Charlie died before the bite victim. So in this minigame, the bite victim has ran off and escaped back to that place where we can assume is Fredbear's, the same Fredbear's that William has just came from after murdering Charlie. And as we know, bite victim is absolutely terrified of Fredbear's, so why would he go back unless this is what he saw that made him absolutely terrified? Bite victim has seen Charlie's dead body in the alleyway, and he's seen the puppet on top of it. Brings us back to that quote from Five Nights at Freddy's 4. What is seen in shadows is easily misunderstood in the mind of a child. He thinks this animatronic has killed her, and so this is where his fear of Fredbear's begins. Because if you think about it, in Five Nights at Freddy's 4, this bite victim has the plushies from Fredbear's and Friends. He has merchandise from Fredbear's, and he refers to them as his friends. He's also meant to have his birthday party there. Now, why would he have all this if he's terrified of that place? Well, that is because his fear of Fredbear's is recent. He hasn't always been scared of Fredbear's up until this point. So after bite victim sees Charlie's body in the alleyway, he runs home to tell Afton exactly what he's seen. But Afton can't be having little Afton tell everyone what he's seen. He can't have bite victim mouthing off about it. It's his first murder. He doesn't know what to do. He doesn't know how to cover it up. But what he can do is keep this kid quiet. So Afton doubles down on the bite victim's fear, similar to Vanessa in the film. He manipulates bite victim with fear. In FNAF Sister Location, we can see a Fredbear plush with a walkie-talkie in what seems to be Afton's secret little office. The same Fredbear plush we see following bite victim around in FNAF 4. It's the same Fredbear plush that keeps talking to him, and we see the Fredbear plush say things like, "It's too late, hurry the other way and find someone who will help. You know what will happen if he catches you." And to me, the most interesting one is, "No, don't. Remember what you saw. The exit is the other way. Hurry and leave." But we also hear him say some comforting things like, "You can find help if you get past them. You have to be strong. Don't be scared. I'm here with you." Dialogue from this Fredbear plush is very interesting, and it sounds very manipulative. He's playing on the bite victim's fear of Fredbears. It's manipulation tactic 101. He's isolating the bite victim from everyone, making it so that he can't trust anyone except for him. And this is how William is getting the bite victim to stay quiet, by making him scared. But of course, Michael has noticed the change in bite victim's behaviour. He suddenly terrified of the animatronics, and he's also crying in public, which is embarrassing, especially in front of his friends. So it leads him to bullying him. But of course, Michael Afton is his father's son, and he takes the bullying a little bit too far and ends up accidentally killing his younger brother. So now William doesn't have anything to worry about. He doesn't have to keep an eye on Bite Victim, and he doesn't need that Fredbear plush anymore. So he puts it away. And of course, this is the second child to die of Fredbear's, so it's closed. So now there's only Freddy's. And one day, William notices that the puppet is acting a bit twitchy. So he's watching him, his every move, and he remembers what Bite Victim said about that night, what he had saw. He'd seen the puppet on top of Charlie. So Afton has a little theory, and puts this theory to the test in 1985 by killing 5 more children. Freddy closes down. He becomes a murder suspect, but without the bodies, they can't prove it's him, and Henry knows what he's done. But his theory was right. There is life after death. And so he goes back to his house and fishes out the old Fredbear plush that his dead son loved and promises to put him back together again. However, he notices that there's a flicker of life in the Fredbear plush too, but it's different from the rest. The Bite Victim's strong emotion of fear had latched onto the Fredbear plush and brought life to it. Seeing this happen before in the Five Nights at Freddy's universe, we see it in the Silver Eyes trilogy with Henry. Henry in the Silver Eyes trilogy loses Charlie, and because of this, he pours his grief and agony into her favourite toy, basically bringing this toy to life. We also learn more about remnant and agony in the Fazbear's Fright books, specifically 1:35 AM. And so we can theorise that the Bite Victim poured his fear into this Fredbear plush, strong enough to give it a little bit of life. And we can theorise this is where William learns about fear and agony, and that's where the fear experiments come from. Now we learn about the fear experiments from Dysphobia, a story inside the Tales books. We follow a kid called Rory who's in a bedroom that matches the description of the FNAF 4 bedroom, and he keeps having nightmares, and he wakes up, goes out, shouts his mum, says he's ready for school, and then suddenly he feels like he needs to go back to bed and it's night time again. But it's revealed in that story that Rory had been in that room for quite a while. He'd been there since he was a kid, and now he was a teenager, but the gas had turned off, and so now he could see the room for what it really was. It was a rundown bedroom. It was still matched the description of FNAF 4 bedroom, but now it was run down. It was old and worn. Basically, he learned what he thought was real isn't. It's all fake. It's manufactured. The nightmares he was having about a bear, a chicken, a fox, a rabbit are actually real, but they're only mannequins that have been exaggerated by the fear gas. So when he tries to escape, he jumps down into this facility, and the facility matches the exact same description as the sister location facility. He finds the same office that we heard about in the sister location with a walkie-talkie, and he gets in touch with his friend and he says, listen, I'm stuck in this place. And he's like, okay, get out. So he looks for a way to escape, and he finds a lift, but this lift's got no power to it. So then he goes back up to the house and realises that the fridge is running, meaning that the fridge has power to it. So he starts fiddling around with this fridge, trying to unhook or find the power. And then he triggers a tape, and a voice starts to play, and it starts saying about how he's the only person that cares for Rory, and that he doesn't really want to escape. Rory falls for it, gas turns back on, and he's back in his cycle, and he never escapes the facility. Now, obviously, William Afton would need to test subjects for these experiments before actually kidnapping children to take part in them. And so we go and look in the logbook, and now this logbook used to belong to Michael Afton, and in this logbook we see a drawing of Nightmare Fredbear, which helps support the theory that we are playing as Michael Afton in Five Nights at Freddy's 4. I mentioned previously, the description of the bedroom in Dysphobia that Rory's in matches the description of the Five Nights at Freddy's 4 bedroom. So Michael Afton could have been his first ever test subject. And when he realised it worked, that's when he built the Funtime animatronics, and the rest is history. So yeah, that's my 10th anniversary theory. Who comes first, Bite Victim or Charlie? The Midnight Motorist runaway and the fear experiments. But yeah, I can't believe it's been 10 years since Five Nights at Freddy's first released. I remember it like yesterday. I was only 10 years old, but yeah, 10 years has flew by, and it's still going strong. A film and everything, and there's loads of games to look forward to next year and Into the Pit. Can't wait. But yeah, thank you for watching, and see you on the flip side.